Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it's happy Sunday night. We're getting started a little late. I was having some technical difficulties. I just got back from Wisconsin from the American Assembly of Men in Nursing. But tonight's episode was spawned by a few questions that I've got from some of the lovers out there who basically have stated, hey, I'm new in love and I made some mistakes the last time. What can I do differently? I love him a lot. I love her too much. I don't love him enough. And sometimes he just calls me too much. So we're going to talk with them. They're specialists in their field. Hopefully, Jaya, if you're out there, honey, you're going to get on. Dr. Jesse Sanders is coming, but we'll back after this. All right, so welcome to another episode of the Nurse Doc Show. Tonight, like I said earlier, we've all been there in relationships, not really sure of ourselves. You know, what's going on in this relationship? Do I call him too much because he's not calling me back? You know, I take her out to dinner, but she never pays. One of the bigger things in love and in relationships is kind of, what's enough is enough and what's too much. So tonight I got on Dr. Jesse Sanders. Dr. Jesse Sanders is a doctorate in marital and family therapy. He has years of counseling couples. He specializes in this kind of work. Also, we have possibly Jaya on, but we're not going to wait around for her. We're going to go ahead and get this party started. And so I'm going to bring him on. We're not going to delay anymore, even though I have a lot to talk about. Okay, Jesse, thank you for being patient with these technological difficulties. What's going on?
No problem. It happens to the best of us. Now, you may not have me as late now, but it happens to the best of us.
I know that you are a father and you have responsibilities, so I'm going to respect your time. So you know about the topic and the issue. The biggest thing that in my relationship and in several relationships that I've heard from, people are like, hey, I'm kind of like independent, but I want to be in love and I want to make our relationship work. What's been your experience? What is your advice out there about what's enough? What's good boundaries?
It's funny that you mentioned this because as you aforementioned, you've had this presented to you. A lot of us has this presented to us. And not only have we had it presented to us, but people, including myself, have certainly struggled, with this, struggled with what is the balance, what's too much, what's not enough. Right. How far do I go, basically? A lot of people have had this issue, again, including myself. And, there are a lot of factors that has to do with this. Mm-hmm. One, it could be gender. Two, it can be our social economics. So there's quite a few things that has to do with it. For example, and again, it's funny you mentioning this because I was just talking to a friend about this yesterday as well. Asians, a large percent of the Asians that move here to the U.S. Are educated. However, only a few percentage of them are CEO of companies or have major positions in companies. And reason being is because what they're taught in their country versus what we're taught in our country are two different things. They're taught, the quiet ones and the ones that listen more and have a more settlement temperament are the ones that are suited better for a leader. Here in the U.S., we learn the ones that, speak up, have a voice, and can think quick on their feet. They're better for leadership. So they come into this country and great leaders and great characteristics, just a different mindset than what we have.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, especially, I love our sisters, our minority women. I love them. But truth is, a lot of minority women that even may grew up, with their father not being active. So they may have had a single mother and then their grandmother and their aunts. So a lot of them may have been raised, you don't need a man to do anything. You don't need man or woman to do anything for you. Build your own and be independent, which is good. It's good to be independent. And independence is good for one person and when it's well balanced. Right. That's what independence is good for. If it's balanced and it's good for one person. Interdependence is great, being balanced and for the team. You cannot be a team player if you don't have balance with your independence. And reality is that interdependence, again, being balanced, it works for the team, knowing that we all win or we all lose. You can possess that when you, one, know yourself, have grown into your redefined self, and have accepted reality. Not the reality that we've created, but what is my reality. And the truth is that a lot of us know our own reality. It's accepting it that can be the issue for us.
I just want to interrupt for 1 second. So one of the interesting things that I talk to a lot of my patients about, especially those of my patients who are like, you know what, I'm ready to get a divorce. I've come to the end of my line with my partner, with my husband, with my wife, and I can't do this no more. It's just been too much, and I'm ready to pack up my shit and go, for lack of a better word. Let's just say it. I'm ready to pack up my shit and go.
Yes.
It is so easy for us, the way we talk, I think as our generation, and maybe even millennials, because I'm not a millennial, but those say, you know what, I can pack up my shit and I can go. Because our parents have taught us, you deserve the world, you can get the world, and, you deserve to be happy. So if you're not happy, pack it up and go. And so when you talk about like how Asians are taught, like especially immigrants who come to this country, like that is so easy to just like, they understand it. But for us, it's like, no, we're very independent. We've learned how to be very strong and very independent, but we haven't learned that level of interdependence. And learning yourself, like you said, is key to developing a balance in interdependence. But Jesse, let's be honest. We fall in love at 17 and 18. I'm not going to say 17-year-old Wesley, and for my classmates and people who are watching it, like Brandon and Carrie and John and Derek and Fatima that I see that are on. When I was younger, I was 17. I did not know I was going to be this at now 39. I'm telling my age, whatever. I did not know I was going to be this. And this new me didn't know that at 17. I was very codependent on people and needed people. But that shouldn't preclude me from love, right?
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely not. And one of the great values that I had, or benefits that I had growing up, that I'm certainly grateful for, is I moved in with my grandparents in middle school, so I was raised primarily all of my life by my grandparents, and so our relationships, as you just mentioned, relationships now versus relationships then, the stability of them and the dedication to them are certainly not the same. So I can say, I'm 39 as well. I'll be 40 next year. And even being
4-0 club.
yes. So I'm on my way quickly. But I'm grateful because even when I was in relationships, one thing that I was taught from my grandparents was to be independent, have that balance, but yet also know that you were not created to be alone. And so don't be so independent to where you run everyone off. And, my grandfather, when he passed in his older 90s, him and my grandmother were married for 73 years. And that is a long time to be with one person and not to separate or, talk about separating or divorcing over a piece of gum. And what I tell people, people will do that now. So, but you ate my last Bubblicious. You got to go. Like, what the hell? What is going on in Zion? What the hell is going on here? And so, but people don't want to lose themselves. And that's what interdependence is. And normally when I equate interdependence to try to break it down, even for couples that are married, potentially going to get married, I tell them there's a 3C rule that I have. And it is 1, you have to communicate. 2, you have to compromise. And 3, you have to celebrate. So communicate, compromise, and celebrate. And with communication, again, accepting my reality. We know if we don't communicate well. If when you're talking, I'm thinking of my defense against what you're saying, that's not proper communication. Communication is me hearing you thoroughly, you being able to completely finish your thought, and then me being able to interject if you're not completely done or to come in when you're finished. That is being able to communicate, to being able to compromise, that I can recognize that we're 2 individuals with 2 different backgrounds. And so therefore there's going to have to be some compromising. However, with me compromising, it doesn't mean that I have to sacrifice myself. I do not have to sacrifice my values or my morals that has been embedded in me. But yet I'm able to realize what's big, what's really important and what's not important. You know, I tell people, you know, as you stated, you know, I'm a father, single father with one, co-parent father with another. And I tell people there are some things I will compromise on, and then there are some things I will not compromise on. And there are some people that say it's my way or the highway. I know my worth. I know who I am, and etc. And when you have to give that whole spiel, reality tells me is that you really don't know your worth. You know what you were told. You know what someone has placed in you. But when you know, that's like Warren Buffett going around hollering every day, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich. He doesn't need to tell anyone that. Right. Everyone knows, he knows it. And so when I hear people constantly putting out there in the atmosphere what they are and what they know, it really tells me you have some inner issues within yourself that we really need to tackle. Mm-hmm. And until someone is ready to accept that reality, they'll never be able to compromise appropriately. Next, I have to be able to celebrate. I have to be able to celebrate you and realize that me celebrating you is me celebrating myself as well, because I am a part of this team. We are a collaboration that has come together. And so I am able to celebrate you freely, celebrate your accomplishments, celebrate your wins, even if there's a change that you need to make. And it may not be a big change. And I may say, it's all right. You could have done better. But instead of saying that, me being able to celebrate every step of my team member, of my partner, who I'm with. And when we're able to understand those 3 C's, we're able to see more success. And one of my clients, and I tell people this story all the time because it's so funny. I had to counsel this bodybuilding type of guy, but I told him, like, don't let the professionalism fool you. I'll punch you in the face. Don't think you're gonna come across.
You're not supposed to say.
Yeah, I can. Look, because he thought, like, he did not like me. I was straightforward. He made it clear I'm only here because the courts said I had to be here. But now he absolutely loves me. And one of his brothers or cousins, someone he was talking to on the phone, asked him, well, why did you go from such hate to such a like for Dr. J? And he said, he made me look within myself. I didn't allow him to point fingers, which is easy for a lot of us to do. But reality is that we need to look at you and see how you are contributing to this problem. What's in you? And even if you and your partner don't stay married, you can't bring this into another relationship. So let's examine you. And that's really what I'm all about, is self-resolution, self-confrontation. Because when we get that, it's easier for us in our relationships. Like for me, and I was asked this question, I had to teach in Atlanta at a seminar. And someone asked me, well, do you know what one of your downfalls are or one of your issues are? I said, absolutely. I am one that has to lead and have my hands in stuff. I know it is a bad habit
Hmm.
and I know I need to work on it. But reality is that it's there. I need to work on it. Like I want a partner to do home stuff because when you're a leader in the world and a leader in your community and etc., you don't want to have to be a leader at home. You want to be able to put that hat down sometimes. But reality is because the leadership has been embedded in me so heavy, it's
Hmm.
hard for me to let go. It's
Yeah.
hard for me to say, no, you're supposed to pay the bills this way, not with this system. And so when we learn to be a teammate, a true teammate, and the interdependence is not me losing myself because so many people see that, oh, I'm going to lose myself. I'm an individual. You are an individual, but you're
Hmm.
not trying to lay by yourself every night.
Right.
So you need to learn how to
Right.
balance. And a lot of people don't know how to balance.
Right. You know what? And that's good. I heard from Derek. Derek said balance. That's good. Carol said communication is key because as time passes, both people change and situations change. I'm approaching 20 years with my spouse. We are far from perfect, but we take time to listen to each other every day. And you know what? Like one thing you said, it's easy when you're a leader in the world, but how do you take that hat off and then say, you know what? I'm gonna come home and let you lead me, or I'm gonna let you take the lead in this relationship and understand that you don't have to be independent all the time, or you don't have to, or you have to learn to accept that your partner needs to be a leader part of the time in the relationship also.
For me, and I tell people this as well, talk to yourself. Now, y'all may think, now that is crazy. How is this therapist going to tell us to talk to ourselves? Talk to yourself. Just like David did in the Bible, where the scripture says he encouraged himself,
Hmm.
we need to talk to ourselves. Just like we tell people to educate themselves with affirmations. Affirm yourself in the morning. If you have low self-esteem, repeat this to yourself every morning. To build this habit and to change your mindset. We're re-downloading information into your brain
Hmm.
to help you come out of depression. We have to do the same thing when it comes to becoming interdependent. I need to talk to myself and remind myself I'm not on this team alone. And it's going to be a habit. Now, if you've been a leader for 20 years, it's going to take more than 20 minutes for you to be able to be interdependent on someone, as you just stated, in the home.
Hmm.
However, build that habit, download it into your mindset, download it, and remind yourself we are a team. I have to allow them to do this. We are a team. And if it includes you getting a stress ball or gritting your teeth, whatever you need to do, but you allow yourself to go through the process, respect the process, and respect your partner enough to let them know that this is difficult. That's where the communication comes
Hmm.
in. This is difficult for me. I'm not used to this. So this is going to be a process for me. But I'm going to get through the process. I'm going to respect the process. So they know. So it's not an argument every 20 minutes because you've expressed to them openly what your inner issue is.
Mm.
And hopefully they're going to support you with that and see, well, yeah, babe is always, leading. So I'm going to help them come out of it at home and help them see a different way of doing things at home, allowing me to lead. And so having that communication, but yet accepting and respecting the process is
Hmm.
imperative.
Well, I don't know how long I have you, Jesse. So, but I want to touch on a little bit while I do have you about
Mhm.
every stage in people's relationships. So, say for instance, if you've been in a relationship, say I've been in a relationship after relationship, and I've always had to be on the defensive because, say for instance, my partner or whoever I fall in love with has decided that they want to be confrontational. So I go into each and every relationship being on ready, just in case my girlfriend or just in case the person I'm dating, she decides to like act up. So I'm mentally in my head always on ready to defend myself and be ready to argue my point or why I feel that way. Can you change that, or Or do you have to like verbalize that this is who I am? I've learned to always be ready to fight, and not physically fight, but physically,
Yes.
verbally, you know what I mean. So,
Yes. Yes. It's
can you
funny.
do it? What do you do? You exactly. Go ahead.
It's funny because you do need to verbalize that this is how I am.
Right.
And I know that I need to change.
I likes to fight.
So this is how I am, but I know I need to change. And it's funny because, and I share with people, I was dating someone and they were confrontational. They were confrontational in your face. And that was new for me because in my relationships, I was in relationship with adults. So I believe that we could communicate, that we could talk, and that we could respect each other's voice. Like that is literally for years what I was used to. I wasn't used to the yelling and the hollering, and nor did I want to subject my children to that environment. But that is how they were. And so, of course, one time they tried to put their hands on me, so I just had to show them. See, now I got to show you. I got to go back to where I came from. Now I got to show you. And so eventually, of course, because that's not who I am, eventually, of course, I ended the relationship with him. And I told myself that, you know what? This is not who you are. Because then when other people started asking me on dates and etc., and I would say yes, if there was one remembrance of the old relationship, if they talked a certain way or their tone was a certain way, like that defense mechanism automatically came up. And I told myself, Jesse, fool, you need healed from this. This is crazy. This is not who you are. So you've allowed them to turn you into someone who you're not. And you will eventually run away a good one because they have to pay the price for what you endured. And so I applied my own advice. I accepted my reality, and then I began to implement the changes that needed to be implemented for me to be the better me and the old me, how I was. And when I tell you I tell people healing is so important. And again, that's why I tell people accept the process and respect the process, because it doesn't feel good, but it's necessary if you want to grow and if you don't want to be alone. And so I had to go through that process, that even if a new one had the tone that the old one had, I reminded myself, Jesse, but that's not who they are. So, they need to stay innocent till proven guilty. And so I had to step back and really heal from that process. And I did not date anyone while I was healing. I took the time to heal properly so that I would not subject someone else to that spirit. And I wasn't testing the waters to see if I was healed. I was healed. I knew I was healed.
And it's so funny that you mentioned that, because that's where I was going. So I think you read my mind. Do we need to take time between each relationship? How much time is there? I mean, if, say for instance, I met the right one, the perfect one, and I just got out of this one with that one, but you know what? They wasn't the right one. Is that appropriate? Is that acceptable or no? Like, do we need to be taking time to heal after each relationship one, or is it okay? How do we know when we're ready to move on?
Yes, absolutely. Taking personal time to heal is imperative. And I tell people, I don't care if you are like Mother Teresa or the bishop or the Pope, you need time to heal. And because reality is that a breakup of a relationship is never just one person's fault. So they may have had more faults than you, but the breakup is never just one person's fault. So there's always a time that we can reflect back in that relationship to say, what could I have done differently? How did I contribute to this issue? There's always questions, educational questions that we can ask ourselves to grow from where we were. And taking that time to, one, ask yourselves the question, and two, endure the process lets me know that you have matured. And I'll use this as an example. And this is a young lady came to me. I was counseling her. and she thought she was healed. And I said, when you're healed, you'll know it. And when you're not healed, you'll know it. And she saw her ex in the grocery store, and she went 3 aisles over not to approach her ex. I said, see, you saw her in the store, you're not healed. You had to go 3 aisles over just not to have an encounter with her. And I explained to her, avoidance is not deliverance. You being able to walk down the same aisle and have a real smile and say hi. I don't have to have a full conversation with you, but I can be cordial. So I can say hi to you and keep moving and have a smile, a real smile. That lets me know I'm healed. If I have to go 3 aisles over because I don't want to see you or talk to you, that tells me there's a piece of you that still has a hold of me, so I'm not healed. And she laughed at that. When she came back and we had another session, she said, I am so glad you said I would know when I'm healed and know when I'm not healed. She said, because I am clearly not completely healed. I said, and it's okay. Because it's those encounters, or whether it's social media, in person, via telephone, via text, it's those encounters that really lets me know that I'm free. If I still have something leap up in me when I hear your name or see you, I'm not free. So now I need to continue through this process because I have not purged you out of me completely. And so there's no set time to be by yourself or endure the process, but we know when we're completely healed. Each of us, we're all diverse. We know when we're healed.
Right. So I don't know how much longer I have you, but can you heal with somebody else? I mean, for my friends who are codependent, who they're in relationship after relationship after relationship. And, they can sit back and say, I know I'm not perfect. I know I can't do everything right. But I met the perfect one. And I can fix myself while I'm with that person. Is that possible, you think, Jesse? Because I'll be honest, professionally, personally, I think it is possible if you have the right partner that you can talk to and say, hey, I'm not whole, or there's still some things that I'm going through, but I don't want to put you up on the shelf till I figure it out. What do you think?
Right. And that to me is a catch-22 question. Yeah, it's a catch-22.
Right.
Yeah, very much so. I tell people, number one, being codependent is unhealthy because with me being codependent, so that lets me know right there I need some time to myself. Because, being codependent, for people who may not know, and I'm going to plug up my laptop here, so give me 1 second. But being codependent really just says, I put my needs on the back burner and put everyone else's needs before mine. So I'm second, everybody else is first.
Okay.
Unhealthy. So by the fact that you're codependent, that tells me you're not healthy emotionally, because you need to learn to balance, again, independence and interdependence. Codependence is not healthy. And now, do I believe that people can heal? I believe that people can heal with a partner, but I do not believe that is the route that people should take. Some people may disagree with me, and that's okay. The reason I say I don't believe that's the route that you should take, because there again, you're depending on someone else to help you through the process. When the reality is that your process is your process and my process is my process. And I'm not saying that when you get this new Jesse, he's going to be magnificent with this glow and he's going to be extremely perfect. Although I'm very close to perfection, I'm just saying you're not going to get that. But me being able to be interdependent and be a team player with you, that lets you know that, you have someone that's free from some of the foundational emotional issues that can tear up a relationship. So do I believe that someone can heal with someone? I do. But again, that draws back that spirit of codependency, which we know is unhealthy. Because again, for me to be codependent, I'm putting everyone else first and I'm putting me last. So reality is that how do I heal with someone else and not be partially codependent on you? Because reality is that now you're my partner and partially my therapist because you're helping me through this process. Reality is, if they're the perfect partner for you in 2018, why won't they be the perfect partner for you in 2019?
I mean,
So,
it's a good point, Jesse. And I always anyways, tell my couples that everybody's going to be a therapist for their partner because you have to sit and do therapeutic things. Like you have to actively listen to one another and be present in the communication, and those are things that we learn in school. Versus things that people really don't learn who go through psychology and understand is how to get out of your own head and how to stop hearing that voice while my partner, my lover, my boyfriend, my girlfriend is telling me how they feel, and I get defensive on the inside. People don't learn how to on a regular basis or outside of psychology, how to be present and how to check in with yourself, but check back out enough to hear what's being said. So, I get it, but I think that we all have to be therapists, or we have to teach our patients to be therapists for their partners. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do understand what you're saying, and I do agree with that again. But that to me is you being interdependent. So me knowing that if you win, the team wins. If I win, the team wins. So that's just a part of the relationship to me. So there's a therapeutic characteristic in it, if you will, to me for interdependence. But for me to be your therapist and your partner, like I don't want to go to work all day and, go through therapy sessions and then have to come home and go through a therapy session. I don't want to do that. I don't want to see patients all day and then come home to a patient. Something is off about that relationship. And so there are therapeutic characteristics. That's just a part of being interdependent, a part of me being part of the team player. But when it gets to the point to where every time we go out, or a large percentage of the time we go out, we're discussing problems of, that you may have, problems in the relationship and etc. We can never let our hair down. We can never have a good time. We need to step back and reevaluate this thing because something is off in the relationships. And I know couples that literally cannot go out to a date night, cannot go out to dinner and just have a conversation about how they foresee their future, what they think about, where they want to be short-term or long-term. The conversations are either about the bills or the children or about the problems that they're having. That's not a real relationship. If that's all you have to communicate about, you are not in a real relationship. And so we need to step back and reevaluate this thing. So therapeutic characteristics in an interpersonal relationship, again, is not the same to me as you being my patient and my partner.
Right. Good stuff. All right, Jesse, I know you said you have to go. So can you tell people, you know what? I got so caught up in trying to make sure that I talk about what we wanted to talk about. I didn't get the opportunity to let you tell viewers about yourself, about your training, about what's going on for you. I'm sorry.
It is no problem. I enjoy this topic. I love it.
It's a huge topic. I'll be honest. I still think that over the years it's still forming. I will say that I even see it within myself, have had moments where I was like, okay, Wesley, you've been a little bit independent these last couple of months in your relationship, so much so that you have not allowed your partner to listen or be heard or to be the leader, and that's not good. So I think for all of us, it's a continuous cycle. Like we're constantly trying to get better at it.
Yes, I agree. And like you said earlier, checking in with yourself. That's so important. And that's what you did when you had that talk, with yourself. You were checking in with yourself and you accepted your reality, that this is the reality. I may want it to be this way, but this is the reality of it. And so I agree. If we check in with ourselves, and like you just also previously stated, we're always going to be evolving with this matter because we're all still going to have that peace. We're still going to have that independence within ourselves. And again, it's okay, but it is going to be a growth process for all of us to learn to have a great interdependent relationship with our partner. It's going to be a process, and that's okay. Right. I don't have to beat myself up about it. And having those self check-ins allows me to grow faster.
Right, right. But go ahead and talk about yourself, because I'm sorry I got off on a tangent.
Oh no, it's all right. I love the subject. No, but as you stated earlier, my name I am Dr. Jesse Sanders. I am a family and marriage therapist, also a transitional life coach. I love what I do. I am a single father with my now 18-year-old. I have to get used to saying that. Now with my 18-year-old daughter, I have to get used to it. She's going to be starting college next year. My baby's growing up. But 18-year-old Brianna, and then I also co-parent with my 9-year-old daughter, Brielle. And I also have an older son as well, who I love dearly. So I love my children. I love the concept of the family unit. I love empowering people. I love watching people grow. And I honestly love celebrating people. I love celebrating people when they can go from where they were or where they are to where they desire to be. So I love to celebrate people. And so I just love what I do. And really, I don't talk about myself a whole lot because that's how much I love what I do. I love dialogue like this as well to help strengthen and empower people, because reality is there will be some people who will probably never talk to anyone, but they will hear dialogue like this and understand that we can be on two different spectrums, but yet we can also bring healing and freedom. We can bring that type of liberation to every household, even if we're different. So I love it. That's what I love to do. I love to do that. Right. But yeah, so my website, if people want to check me out or go see, my website is www.iamredefined.com. So IAMREDEFINED.org, excuse me. So www.iamredefined.org. And then on social media is Dr. Redefined all across the board. So Dr. Redefined on Facebook, on Twitter, and Instagram. They can go to Dr. Redefined. But I'm glad that you had me on tonight and with this discussion. And I look forward to more discussions to empowering people.
All right. Sorry about that Twitter, guys. This is not that's not his Twitter link, but that is his website link. So IamRedefined.org, right? I spelled it right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. I had to do it on the fly, so it needed.
Now, you did good.
So now, what got you involved in doing marriage and family therapy? Like, was that your decision after school, while you were in school? Why couples? Because it's so easy to do individuals. Couples can be a lot. Families can be a lot to do therapy with. Why did you choose that?
Oh my gosh, I see now. I'm telling you, you are so correct. Families having one person in the room versus having 6 people in the room. Right. You have 6 personalities, 6 attitudes. You have to have some great discipline to be able to do that. But I'm grateful for it. And the reason I decided to do it, with my 18-year-old, I went through a lot of turmoil, with her mother. And, I had my emotions up, down, days I hated her, days I disliked her, days I want to take her out. I had every emotion. I'm just being honest. Mm-hmm. And, I went to court time after time again. I spent almost $18,000 on court costs, attorney fees. Oh yeah, it was hell on wheels. Trust me. Right. It was a process. And I saw other fathers and families being torn. And partly because most of the time they were not hearing each other. Everybody was talking and they were not hearing each other. And when I first started school, I knew I loved to help people. My grandfather was saying, why don't you just be a teacher or a principal or a school counselor or whatnot? And so I went to school, and that's what I was going to go to school to be a teacher, changed it up. And when I went through the process with my oldest daughter's mother, I realized what I was called to do. I said, I know I was not taken through this storm for myself, but to be an advocate for some other father or families who have gone or going through this storm. And that's exactly what I do now. There are families I talk to that said, they would not have thought of talking to anyone because so many times we talk, but again, no one is hearing or listening to each other. And so my goal is to take that dysfunction out of the family and to make the families functional and not dysfunctional. And so that is what I desire to do. With my 9-year-old, my ex-wife and I, we parent great with my 9-year-old. And I see the difference in her character versus the difference in my 18-year-old's character when she was my 9-year-old's age. And it shows me it's a reflection that when the parents get it, it trickles down to the children.
Wow.
But we have so many children that's either in our criminal system because of dysfunctional homes. They're just tired, they're drained, they're in the middle of situations. And so again, my goal is to take that dys out of dysfunctional and make our family units functional again.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Jesse. I know you have a 9-year-old to tuck in and prepare for school. Thank you for joining me on the school night.
No problem. I thank you for having me.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Have a good night.
Okay, guys, there you have it. Thank you so much, Dr. Sanders, for joining me. Like I said earlier, let me stream that across my Twitter. It's not his Twitter. It's his website, www.iamredefined.org. Thank you again for joining me tonight. Like I said, anytime there are 3 problems in our relationships, and if we can fix those will fix a lot of what your problems are. Sex, let's be honest, sex got to be right. Sex got to be good, and at least be able to talk about it, which leads into communication, improved communication through understanding one another, understanding yourself, understanding the whole picture, and being able to talk about it, and then also being able to talk about that money. Money is super, super important. At least being able to talk about it and understand it better. So thank you again for joining me. We're going to continue this conversation. I got a few more specialists who have a lot to say. My sisters will be joining me next week to talk about the same topic, because some people may say, Wesley, you're 2 men. Like, you all, understand, or you talk the same language. You're alpha men. So, how does that count towards me? Well, we'll talk about it again next week. All right. So until then, beautiful people, have an amazing, amazing, amazing week. I love you, and see you next Sunday. We